1,110 years later, 1227 AD, Genghis Khan controls the largest contiguous empire in human history, 24 million square kilometers. His army? Only 129,000 ethnic Mongol soldiers, but every single one of them has been fighting on horseback since the age of 3. They carry composite bows that can kill at 200 meters. Their cavalry covers 100 miles a day. They've crushed every empire they've touched: China, Persia, Khwarezmia, Russia. Kingdoms that lasted centuries fell in months. But here's the question nobody can answer. What happens when the unstoppable horde meets the immovable legion? The Mongol Empire and the Roman Empire never coexisted. They were separated by over 1,000 years of history. But if we take both at their absolute peak, put them on the same battlefield, and let them fight, who wins? The disciplined machine or the relentless storm? Let's break down what each side brings to the battlefield. At its peak under Emperor Trajan, Rome's military was a machine unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. 30 full legions. Each legion contained around 5,300 combat soldiers, organized into 10 cohorts. The first cohort was double strength, the elite. Add in auxiliaries, archers, cavalry, slingers, and specialist units, and the total force reached 450,000 men. But numbers alone don't explain Rome's dominance. Their real weapon was engineering. Roman legionaries carried a shovel alongside their sword. Every night on campaign, they built a fortified camp from scratch. Ditches, walls, gates, organized streets. In hostile territory, the Romans literally built a fortress every single evening and dismantled it every morning. They could construct a bridge across the Danube River in 10 days. Siege towers, ballistas, and onagers gave them 59 artillery pieces per legion. Their standard infantry carried the gladius, an 18-inch double-edged short sword designed for close combat stabbing, not slashing. The pilum, a 7-foot javelin designed to bend on impact so it couldn't be thrown back. And the scutum, a curved rectangular shield weighing 22 pounds that locked together with others to form the testudo, the famous turtle formation that could deflect arrows, javelins, and even boiling oil from above. Every soldier wore segmented plate armor, the lorica segmentata, and a reinforced iron helmet. And then there's logistics. Rome built 400,000 kilometers of roads across the empire. Supplies moved on schedule. Reinforcements marched at a steady 30 kilometers per day in full formation. Rome's military was slow, but it was relentless. It didn't need to win every battle. It just needed to keep coming back, and it always did. Now the Mongols, and right away the numbers look bad for them. At the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the core Mongol army numbered around 129,000 soldiers, according to the historian Rashid al-Din. Even including conscripted troops from conquered lands, they probably never fielded more than 150,000 in a single campaign. That's 3-1 against Rome. But the Mongol army was never about numbers. It was about something far more terrifying: speed. Every Mongol soldier maintained 3 to 4 horses, rotating between them to maintain speed without exhausting any single animal. This meant Mongol cavalry could cover 100 miles in a single day. To put that in perspective, a Roman legion in forced march covered 30 miles. The Mongols moved over 3 times faster, and they didn't need supply lines. They survived on dried meat, fermented mare's milk, and if necessary, blood drawn from their horses' veins. The Mongol army was self-sustaining. It carried its entire supply chain on horseback. Their primary weapon was the composite bow, layers of wood, horn, and sinew that generated immense power from a short draw length. Targeted shots were accurate at 175 meters. Ballistic volleys could hit formations at 400 meters. And here's the part that terrified every army they faced. Mongol warriors could fire these bows at full gallop. They learned to release the arrow at the exact moment all 4 of the horse's hooves left the ground, the only instant of perfect stability in a gallop. Each warrior carried 60 arrows in their quiver. Multiply that by 100,000 riders, and the first wave alone was 6 million arrows. But the Mongols' deadliest weapon wasn't their bows, it was their tactics. The feigned retreat, they would charge, engage briefly, then turn and flee in apparent panic. When the enemy broke formation to pursue, Hidden wings of cavalry would sweep in from both sides and encircle them completely. They used this tactic against the Khwarezmian Empire, the Jin dynasty, the armies of Poland and Hungary. It worked every single time, because every army that faced them thought, we've beaten the Mongols. And that thought was always the last mistake they ever made. So let's put them on the field. Both sides at full strength. The terrain matters enormously here, but we'll start on open ground, the Mongols' preferred environment. The Mongol commander, let's say Subutai, Genghis Khan's greatest general, spots the Roman legions from miles away. His scouts have already mapped every hill, every river, every possible escape route. The Mongols always knew the terrain better than the people who lived there. The first move is Mongol. Light cavalry rides forward in waves, firing arrows at extreme range. 300, 400 meters. Thousands of arrows arc through the sky and rain down on the Roman formation. The Romans respond exactly as trained. The order goes out. Testudo, shields lock overhead and on all sides. The arrows slam into wood and iron. Most are stopped. The formation holds. This is what Rome was built for. They've faced archers before. Parthians, Persians, Numidians. The testudo was literally designed for this. But Subutai notices something. The Romans aren't breaking. They aren't charging. They're just absorbing. And this is the problem. The Mongol feigned retreat only works if the enemy pursues. Roman discipline means they won't. A Roman centurion would rather die in formation than break ranks to chase a fleeing enemy. Subutai has never faced this before. Every army he's fought, Chinese, Persian, Russian, Hungarian, eventually broke formation when they thought they were winning. The Romans won't. They just stand there, shields up, waiting. The Mongol arrow storm continues for hours, but the Romans rotate their frontline troops to keep fresh soldiers at the front. Their lorica segmentata stops most arrows that get through the shields. Casualties are light, and every arrow the Mongols fire is an arrow they can't get back. Remember, 60 arrows per warrior. At this rate, they'll run dry before the Romans take significant losses. Night falls, and this is where Rome's secret weapon activates. In 6 hours, the Roman legions have built a fortified camp. Ditches 4 feet deep, wooden palisades, guard towers at every corner, organized streets inside with clear lines of retreat. Every single night, this is standard Roman procedure, not a special effort, not a response to the Mongols. This is just what they do. For the Mongols, this is a nightmare. Their entire doctrine is based on mobility against enemies in the open. But now they're facing a portable fortress that appears every evening and vanishes every morning. They can't starve the Romans out because Roman logistics keeps supply lines running. They can't breach the walls easily because they're defended by ballistas, Roman artillery that fires bolts capable of punching through multiple men at once. But the Mongols adapt. They always adapt. That's what makes them dangerous. Subutai brings in Chinese siege engineers, the same ones who helped it breach the walls of Baghdad and the fortresses of the Jin dynasty. Trebuchets begin hurling stones at the Roman fortifications. The Mongols have even used incendiary weapons. Naphtha, early forms of gunpowder borrowed from Chinese technology. The wooden palisades catch fire. But here's the thing about Roman engineering. They wrote the book on siege warfare. Literally. Roman military manuals detailed how to build and defend against every siege weapon known to the ancient world. The Romans counter with their own artillery, reinforced positions, and something the Mongols haven't encountered. Organized counter-siege tactics from soldiers who train for this year-round. The siege becomes a stalemate, and stalemates favor the defender. Weeks pass. The Mongol army is burning through resources. Their horses need grazing land, and 400,000 horses, 4 per warrior, strip the local grassland bare in days. This is the Mongols' hidden weakness. They need space. Their army is a locust swarm that has to keep moving or it starves. The Romans know this, and now their general, let's say Trajan himself, one of the greatest military minds in Roman history, pushes the engagement toward terrain that favors infantry. River crossings, forested hills, narrow valleys. In a river valley flanked by hills, Trajan deploys the triplex aces, the classic 3-line Roman formation. Front line, seasoned veterans with pila ready. Second line, experienced soldiers in reserve. Third line, the triarii, the elite. The formation is 2 miles wide and virtually impossible to flank because the terrain closes the sides. The Mongols can't ride around them. They have to go through them. And going through a Roman legion in tight terrain is a death sentence. The composite bow is devastating in the open, but at close range against locked shields, the gladius is king. Roman soldiers trained to fight in a space of 6 square feet. They don't need room, they need contact. As the Mongol cavalry closes the distance, the first volley of pila flies. 7-foot javelins that impale horses and riders, their soft iron shanks bending on impact so they can't be pulled out. Horses scream and fall. The cavalry charge crumbles. And then the legions advance, step by step, shield to shield, gladius punching forward. In this terrain, Mongol mobility is neutralized. Their horses can't maneuver. Their bows can't find angles. And in hand-to-hand combat against armored infantry in formation, light cavalry doesn't stand a chance. The Mongols take catastrophic losses. For the first time, the feigned retreat isn't a tactic. It's a genuine retreat. So who wins? Here's the honest answer. It depends entirely on the terrain. On the open steppe, the Mongols would harass, encircle, and exhaust the Romans over weeks. No infantry army in history has beaten a Mongol army on their home turf. Not one, but anywhere else. In Europe, the Middle East, any terrain with rivers, forests, hills, and choke points, Rome wins. And it's not close. The Mongol army was built to destroy disorganized armies that break and run. The Roman army was built to never break and never run. That one difference changes everything. Rome's engineering, logistics, and iron discipline create a type of opponent the Mongols simply never evolved to beat. An enemy that builds a fortress every night, advances every day, and fights as one organism. The Roman legion wasn't just an army, it was a system. And systems don't panic. 2 empires 1,000 years apart. Both conquered everything in their path. Both built the world we live in. And if they'd ever met on the battlefield, it would have been the greatest clash in the history of warfare. But there's one army that almost nobody talks about. An army so terrifying that the Mongols themselves chose not to fight them. If you want to see what happens when 300 Spartans at Thermopylae face an entire Viking invasion fleet, click the video on screen right now. And if you made it this far, you're clearly not a casual viewer. You actually care about history. So here is the deal. This channel just started. We're a small team with a big goal, and right now we're trying to reach our first 100 subscribers. That's it, just 100. If this video made you think, made you pick a side, made you want to argue in the comments about who actually wins, then hit subscribe. Help us reach that first milestone. 100 subscribers and we drop the Spartans versus Vikings video immediately. Deal? I'll see you in the next battle.